Hello, and welcome to the Loving You interview series. I'm your host, Rachel, and founder of Under the Dancing Tree. And here in this interview series, we're having conversations with well-being and holistic experts on self-care and self-love. And today with me, I have Sami Blackford from FreyaLuna Rituals, and she offers natural and holistic skincare that is not only safe and gentle, but effective, feminine, and luxurious too. So what more could a girl want? So welcome, Sami.
Hello.
It's really wonderful to have you here. And so thank you so much for coming on and coming here to discuss what I think a lot of women really have a lot of inhibitions about, and sometimes there's a lot of shame and worry that comes along with their skin. I mean, our face is what people see first, I suppose. So yeah, a really important subject to be talking about. So before we begin and get into all the wonderful things that you offer, I would really love for you to share with our audience how you came to really focusing on this. And I found from a lot of the interviews already that actually what people are delivering, they do so because it's contributed so much to them on their journey. It's been a part of their self-love and self-care. And because it's meant so much to them, they want to share it with the world. So I imagine it's the same for you as well. So if you could share, a little bit how you came to do what you do and what it means to you.
Yeah, definitely. I can really relate to what you've just said about it being something that's happened in your life that has then become a business and you're sharing it with the world. I think that is true for a lot of holistic kind of businesses. There's been some sort of like crisis point, to put it mildly, in our own lives, which then leads us on to discovering whatever it is and then sharing it with the world. So I used to have really bad acne. So since my teenage years, which, it's kind of expected, understood at that age, while hormones are doing whatever hormones are doing during puberty. But then it continued into like my early and mid 20s. And by this point, like puberty had been and gone. Like I didn't have that excuse anymore. And as you say, there was a lot of shame around it. Like, this is what people saw, and this was something. So the first out of college, the first business I set up was in fashion design, which is a very visual kind of, like, your external appearance is very important. And I remember getting like media attention and that kind of thing, and having my photo taken, and I absolutely hated having my photo taken because of my skin. So I tried every product I could find in the shops, all the big names that we all know which ones I'm talking about, and they didn't do anything for my skin. And I had prescription products from the doctors, they didn't do anything for my skin either. Well, actually, no, that's a bit of a lie. They did have an effect on my skin, but for me, it was a negative effect. So if they perhaps dried out the acne, they left my skin really dry and flaky. So that was just like the other side of like the coin, as it were. So it left my skin in just as bad a state. So that at that point, about mid-20s, I had folded my first business due to financial situation, and that left me with debt and depression. And in that time, I just completely like took a huge time out. It wasn't chosen, but with depression, you don't want to do anything, so you tend to sit around doing nothing. And what I kept coming back to was, the one thing I want to figure out is my skin. I want to get rid of this acne. And in that time, although it was a very downtime, as in a negative feeling time for me, it was also a downtime as in I had space. I had space to think and feel and explore and do what I needed to do. So I just started experimenting with ingredients I had in my kitchen cupboard or growing in the garden, and just started mixing things up and making face products for myself, hand creams, bath salts, whatever it was, just kind of having a play around. And 15 or so years later, here we are. And I always say, like, when people ask me how I got into it, I always say it's like, you remember when you were a kid and you were playing in the garden, you'd make mud pies, and you'd have a bit of mud, some water, a leaf of this plant, a flower off that plant. That was pretty much what I did. It has become more thought out as we've come along. But I love that that's experimenting time.
Oh, fabulous. It sounds wonderful. Yeah, it sounds lots of fun. Okay, so the women that come to you now then, that come for your products, what is their main concern? Like, what is the majority of women, what are they looking for, do you think?
I think what every woman is looking for is to feel beautiful in their skin. It's as simple as that. I mean, I get people coming with acne because people relate to my story, or eczema, or, like an extreme skin disorder, for want of a better word. And I also get people who don't have that extreme a skin situation, but just want to feel beautiful and confident in their own skin. And what I find is, like, taking care of your physical body. So by applying products to it, by that building connection through touch with your body when you're massaging in a skincare product, that helps to build that relationship with your body, because we are so disconnected from our bodies. We run them like machines, like always go, go, go. Where, occasionally we'll remember that we have to eat, or we'll remember that we have to sleep. But generally we're disconnected with what our bodies are doing and what our bodies are trying to tell us. And actually having that physical touch connection with our bodies helps to rebuild that relationship. And one of my core beliefs is that when we are fully in touch with our bodies, we learn to accept, which is not the right word, but it's something that we can connect with because we're told we should be something else. But we learn to accept and fully embody and love our bodies as they are, rather than when we've lost however much weight or lost our wrinkles or whatever it is that we're told we should look like.
Yeah, so I imagine with a lot of women that everybody else comes first before them. And
Yes.
there's many reasons for that. But I find with a lot of women that I work with that they feel like they have to be worthy of self-care before they begin self-care. And it's kind of swapping that mentality around so that you introduce the self-care to remind yourself that you're worthy. And and a lot of people will spend 20, 30 minutes, an hour, on somebody else a day, but it comes to them and they're like, well, I don't know. So what would you say to encourage the women that feel like maybe they want to implement something daily, even if it is just a small thing in their self-care? Is there something, what would you say to them?
Yeah, so for me, like, my definition of self-care is putting yourself first in every situation. Now that can, especially for women, that can sound pretty scary and selfish. But there's that old analogy, isn't there, of like, if you're on an aircraft and the oxygen mask drop down, you put your own mask on first and then you take care of the person next to you.
Yeah.
And it's the same in day-to-day life. It doesn't have to be in a crisis situation, but just generally in day-to-day life. If you're not looking after yourself, you will eventually run out of whatever it is that you have to give to other people. So how you get to that point of putting yourself first in every situation, and that might sound selfish, but if you think about it, say you're a new mum and you have a screaming child, you have a hot cup of tea, you're trying to, I don't know, write an email to somebody. What in that moment, what is putting yourself first? Is it drinking your cup of tea while it's still hot? Is it getting the email out? Or is it quieting the screaming child so that you can actually think? So that might seem like you're putting somebody else first, as in the baby, but really it's for your own well-being that you're dealing with that first. So it's not as selfish as it might seem. So how we get to that point of putting ourselves first in every situation is through the small acts of self-care. So for me, there's two sides to self-care. There's like the raw self-care where you're putting yourself first, and there's the acts of self-care. So acts of self-care is like, say, going and getting a massage, or taking a bath, or going for a walk, or dancing. You know, those are those different acts of self-care. So if you only have 5 minutes in the day, if you only have 2 minutes in the day after you get out of the shower, get yourself the most beautiful body lotion, body oil, whatever it is that you can get. One that smells amazing, that you really love the smell. When you smell it, makes you feel good. One that feels good to use, feels good in your hands, feels good when you apply it into your skin. That if you can make those 2 minutes when you're applying a moisturizer the most amazing 2 minutes they can possibly be, that is going to make a huge difference to your day. And just imagine that day on day, just 2 minutes a day. And it's like that, the law of attraction thing. So what you focus on grows. So the more that you show yourself that love and attention and the intention of taking care of yourself, the more that time for that will magically appear in your day.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of making it a ritual of devotion rather than, you know, a labor as you would label it. So it's just choosing and changing that perspective.
Yeah, a lot of it is about mindset. So I talk a lot about turning your skincare routine, which routine sounds kind of boring, into a ritual. So it is that bringing that mindfulness in, and that mindset of, this is something that you're really doing for you. It's going to nourish you on various levels, not just a product to put on your skin. So a lot of it is around the intention that you have and the mindset that you're in when you're doing it.
Definitely. Yeah, and even that might be the only thing that you do that day, but at least, like you said, you've set out that, you know, that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes in the morning, and then that was just for you, you know, no one else, just that moment for you. Yeah. So in your introduction in the beginning, you spoke about how you tried lots of different products and they just weren't working for you. And I know that every woman and every man, for the men that are watching this as well, has very unique skin and very unique needs as well. And actually our skin is a reflection of what's going on inside as well. So there's many contributing factors down to, like you said, hormones and diet and hydration and external things. So I'd love you to talk into really the uniqueness of skin and how, you know, maybe the thing that they're being told to apply by an advert maybe isn't what their skin needs. So how women can address their own personal needs.
Yeah, so this comes back to that, listening to what your body is saying. So for me, a huge thing was recognizing and then understanding what my acne was telling me. So when we think about a skincare problem, the first thing we tend to think about is the products that we apply. Whereas, as you've mentioned, like skincare, and like the saying goes, beauty is more than skin deep, and the health of our skin is more than skin deep. So when I went to the doctors to get those prescription products, he did not mention diet. He didn't mention stress levels. He didn't mention exercise. He didn't mention any of that stuff. Just gave me something to put on my skin. So part of my journey was discovering all of that, exploring all of that for myself, all of that connection. And what I have come to find is that I will never be fully rid of my acne. My acne is my body's response, it's stress response. And we will all have something different. It might be a skin problem, it might be migraines, it might be, you know, it'll show up in different ways. We have to learn the language of our bodies and what it's saying to us. So that's the first thing. So getting to know your body and your skin and how it kind of reacts to different situations. So I know if I have like a night on the cocktails, which is not quite so easy at the moment, I will generally get a breakout afterwards. Or if if my diet slips a bit and I eat more of like the cakes and the wheat and that kind of stuff, I know my skin will react. Equally, if I'm in a really stressful situation, my skin will react. And for me, it's like a warning signal that something's off. So that's one thing I would say. Really get to know your body and your skin and how it responds to different situations. And then there is nobody that can tell you exactly what you need for your skin. Only you can find that out for yourself through using the products, because as you say, we're all different. All our skin's all different. So something that will work for me might not work for you, and vice versa. And we can kind of narrow it down a little bit. So for spot prone skin, you want to avoid certain ingredients that can exacerbate it. Equally for something like eczema or sensitive skin. And for dry skin, something that's good for like oily skin will make dry skin worse. So we can kind of narrow it down a little bit. And what we do at FreyaLuna is we offer what we call discovery kits of our facial collections, so that you can try the products. They generally last about 1 to 2 weeks, but it's enough for you to figure out if it has a positive effect or a negative effect on your skin. Because what I used to find, like when I was in this searching for the miracle cream that was going to heal my skin, was that my bathroom cabinet was full of like half-used jars that I'd bought, you know, following the marketing hype that it was going to fix my skin and the miracle thing that I was looking for. Inevitably it didn't. So that was something I was very aware of when I was creating the products, that the products are not the cheapest products around. And I wanted them to be not an investment, but something that you really choose as something sacred for yourself, like some real self-care for yourself. So the like sample kits, the trial kits, are there as like a stepping stone, so that you can figure out if they work for your skin, and then if they do, great, you can go on and go for the full size, or you can try something else. So really, it seems like a bit of a cop-out answer, but I can't tell you what you need. I can recommend certain things, but only you and your skin can know what you and your skin require.
Yeah, and it's really important to begin learning to trust ourselves again. You know,
Yes.
we're given so many opinions and perspectives from external, you know, that tell us we should be doing this, or we should be this, and we should be that. It's really important, to just begin listening to ourselves again and listening to our body needs. You know, it is constantly telling us, you know, like even if people aren't quite sure about how to listen to their body, if you think about, if you sit on your foot for too long and you get a numb foot, Well, that's your body going, you need to stop sitting on your foot. You know, so it's giving you signals all the time, and you know, you might have gone out of the habit of listening, but it's still there. You know, the body hasn't gone anywhere. It's still constantly trying to communicate with you. And very often, these things that come up, you know, are coming up for a reason to tell us something, and it's just our body wanting to communicate, because our body loves us and it wants to help and support us. It really, really does.
Yeah, I think mostly, or for most of us, our bodies just want to be friends with us, because we go through these cycles of whether it's like through heavy exercise, dieting, whatever it might be, of like trying to force our bodies into a mold that perhaps is not natural for the body that we're in. And just relax a little bit. Just ask your body what it wants. So I've been saying about like listening to what your body's saying, but have a conversation with it. Like, ask your body what it wants. Especially for women with our menstrual cycle, we will have different wants and needs and strengths and abilities as we go through the month. So one of my bugbears is you know, like sanitary product adverts when they're like, you can go skiing and you can go diving and all this, like, or you can sit on the couch and do nothing. It's fine if that's what your body wants. Just sit and do nothing. Just relax a little bit.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. You know, this is kind of this thing about like how we should ignore what's happening in our feminine body in that, and try to carry on as per normal and still be competing and going and busy in this patriarchal world.
Yeah.
So, and so just coming back and just really listening to what your body needs, and just being open to receive that as well, definitely. So maybe you could talk into actually more about that, about hormones in the cycle, if that's okay, because I mean, a lot of women, I work with that in like my moon mysteries, but from a skin perspective, in your cycles, I mean, very often there'll be, probably most women watching this will have, you know, spots that come pre period, and obviously our skin is gonna need different care throughout our whole cycle. So perhaps it might be drier at some periods, you know, it might be more kind of oily, I would imagine, around like their periods. So maybe if you could talk into that, like maybe how the skin reacts, that would be really interesting.
So a lot of people, especially those who are prone to like spot breakouts, will find more spots kind of in the run up to their period. And it's interesting, which comes back to kind of learning your body's language, that where you have breakouts on your face can kind of indicate what's going on inside. So the hormonal ones tend to be kind of in this sort of area. And interestingly, interesting fact for you. So whichever side of your jaw you're getting the breakout on is which side side the egg is coming from. So there's a little little fact for you that I'm not sure you needed that, but hey, it's interesting.
That's dead interesting. And journal about it, you know, make notes.
And so that's one thing. Like keep a track of, I was going to say the symptoms, but they're not really symptoms of like something that naturally happens. It makes it sound like a disease or something. But like the signals, the signs that your bodies are giving you throughout the month, just keep a track of that. And if you don't already, I mean, it depends if you're on hormonal birth control, it'll be slightly different. But if you don't already track when your period is, because it's not necessarily going to be the magical 28 days cycle that everybody talks about. And with your skin as well, track what happens throughout the month. So sometimes you'll get breakouts, sometimes you'll get dryness. Sometimes your skin will require something a little extra. So if you're getting a bit of extra dryness, maybe add in like a hydration serum or swap your moisturizer for facial oil. And then there's other practices, other rituals that you can add in. So whether that's skin brushing is really great when you have just come out of your period. So in like the spring season of your cycle, really good to get things moving again, get the energy building up again, and help with the lymphatic drainage. So to get everything like released from your body. And things like facial massage, you know, a whole body massage, things like that, you can add into your monthly routine, your monthly ritual, as and when your body's asking for them. And again, it comes back to, I can't tell you what you need when. You need to kind of learn what your body is asking for.
Yeah. So if that's the one thing you take away from this interview today is the simple thing of listening to your body, and then once you know what you want and you need, you can come to Sami and say, this is what I need. I imagine you get a lot of people that come to you saying, tell me what I need. It's like, okay, go away, listen to what you need and come back.
We've been, whether it's through marketing or whatever, we've kind of been taught that somebody out there knows what we need at every moment of every day, of every week, of every month. Whereas really we need to kind of turn that attention back inward. And this is when we're on our period, this is a really great time to do that, because we're getting that our energy is naturally focused more internally. We've kind of come home to our body because there's a lot going on in our body. Now we have to be careful at this point, because we can try and check out, especially if you have very painful periods or something that's not quite, I was going to say pleasant, at that time of the month. We can have a tendency to check out, whether that's through painkillers or whatever, or going skiing and diving. But really, I would say take that opportunity. It is a nature-given opportunity that women have that men don't, to actually be present with our bodies. And in that time, during our period, we're the most reflective. So we naturally have this strength, this ability to be reflective and connected to our bodies. Really use that. Like Mother Nature has given us this whole cycle that can make our lives so much more full of ease and joy. And so many of us just fill it with the hormonal birth control or whatever, and just try and control it. Whereas like this comes back to like another of my bugbears. There's like sex education in schools. We are not taught about our bodies. We are taught how not to get pregnant and how not to get a disease. That is pretty much it. Unless sex education has come a long way since I was in school. So if we are taught, if we learn what our bodies are doing, what this like amazing nature that's inside our bodies is providing for us, just think of how amazing life can be when we live in harmony and in sync with our cycle and our bodies.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. It's such a miracle, it really is. And I think we're very much taught that, you know, pain is bad. And I know that, you know, periods can be really, you know, difficult for some people. We're used to pushing pain away or taking the pill and making it go, but actually there's a point where you can surrender into that and really be in that and be there with your body and hold your body and space keep for it, and rather than trying to switch it off, use it as an opportunity to come deeper into that self-care and that self-love, and just fully embrace that, definitely. And yeah, and just see it as a reminder of how, yeah, we're completely connected to nature. I teach us through my moon mysteries about, how, the cycle of the moon and how we are connected, and that's not a mistake at all. We have these seasons within ourselves as women, and reflected by the moon and the seasons in the calendar and the archetypes of woman, and we go through that every single month. And actually, if there are any men watching this as well, it's really, really helpful for the men to know this, to be able to support us. So rather than just saying, oh, okay, she's grumpy, that means she's on her period.
Yeah, I know, it's such a male reaction, isn't it?
I know, and it's not like we're being grumpy on purpose, but actually there's, a huge opportunity there to really experience that with the woman, and there's different things that you can contribute at different times of the cycle as well, and different ways that men can support that and just get to know women more as well. And men go through their own cycles, daily cycle of the sun, but we have our moon, and it's great to work with that.
And the thing is, like, to point out as well, is like, it's not just for women who are menstruating. So women who have been through menopause will still have a version of this cycle, not necessarily, well, not the physical obvious signs like as the period or whatever, but it will still be there. So even if you have gone through the menopause and you're wanting to reconnect with this, I would always say start with the moon. Look at where the moon cycle is, and connect with that, and then that'll help you to connect with yourself as well. And going back to what we were saying about like painful periods and things, like, I'm not saying be a martyr to your pain, and it comes back to like learning what your body is telling you. So it could, like, painful periods could be telling you that there's something that you need to look at. So whether it's endometriosis, PCOS, something like that, or even if it's just painful periods, which is something that I have struggles with, and it's something that's ongoing. It's my journey with that is still ongoing. So I'm very much looking at my diet and the role of like my liver and kidneys and all, how it all works together. So it's not necessarily going to be like a quick fix like taking a painkiller would be, but it's like getting back in touch with your body and what it's asking for.
So again, those
which I keep saying.
And we couldn't say it enough, I don't think. Those painful periods, and going back to the acne, if you're having a particularly kind of bad outbreak, especially pre-period, it could be often that cycle, before your period has been particularly stressful, and there's just going to be a lot more just to release at that point. So in fact, it's being more gentle with yourself, and if you need to journal more, bathe more, implement more, like massages like you were saying, and just up that self-care, make that skin routine maybe in the morning 2 hours on your period rather than 10 minutes.
And the Bath and Body collections with FreyaLuna are formulated around the different phases of our cycle. So there's one for while we're in our winter phase, which is our period, which is formulated around rose. So rose is such an amazing ingredient for women. First of all, for the effects on the skin, it's really good for dry, sensitive, really full of nutrients and antioxidants. And also its benefits within the body. There's no accident that it's known as like a really feminine flower, because it has a more of a balancing effect on like hormones and like helping to kind of put everything back into balance. So something like abdominal massage with like the rose body oil would be really lovely, or like a nice long bath in using the rose bath salts would be lovely too. And the other thing about rose is I use fragrance a lot for their mental and emotional well-being effects. And here I have to say that it's natural fragrances, not synthetic. They have very different effects on us. But rose helps us to feel good about ourselves as women. So it gives you that kind of that comforting, I always say it's like a warm hug for the soul, because it kind of wraps around you and you're just kind of like, oh, I feel better. So rose at the time of the period, I always say, like, definitely a great ingredient to go for.
Nice. Yeah, Rose is a real caretaker with that mother energy, so it supports us in mothering ourselves, definitely. Okay, wonderful. Oh, all such good stuff. So before we finish up, I wanted to invite you to share with our audience and I've asked this to everybody and they were like, ooh, I have to think about this, but what's your number one self-care? And it doesn't have to be, it might be skincare, because that is very often what we end up doing, but your thing that you always go to, that you just absolutely love, that just reaffirms your self-love, and is just your number one favourite self-care tool.
I'm going to put two in, actually.
Ooh, okay.
So one is kind of like the obvious answer of skincare. I always come back to skincare of some sort. I always have my evening ritual of the Cleanse Tone Moisturiser, which just helps. It's like a mini meditation that I do every evening. Even though it's like a skincare routine, it becomes my very mindful practice. The other thing is nature. So getting outside. So whether that's going for a walk, I'm very fortunate where I live, like at the bottom of my road, it's just open fields. Or whether it's grow out in the garden, growing the ingredients that I use to make the products. I find that being out in nature helps me to reconnect to myself and to my body. I think it's something about like the physicality of nature helps us to reconnect with the physicality of our bodies. So that's my two. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah, wonderful. No, thank you for sharing them. I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that, and the men that are listening as well. Oh, well, thank you so much. And you can learn more about Sami and FreyaLuna Rituals. I'll put the links below this video for her website, and also her Instagram, which has some really beautiful pictures of you in nature, so you can see that she walks her talk. You can check them out if you want to know more, and any questions, and just ask and go and look at all the lovely products that she produces. And it's so nice to have products that really have thought and care and heart and soul that goes into them, rather than just something that's on a shelf that's made generically. Really choose something that is going to nourish you and to support you, and is an act of self-love. Thank you so much, Sami.
Thank you, I've loved it.
Oh, you're very, very welcome, and we'll see you in the next interview. Bye for now.